Hello, my name is Steve Jameson. With my artwork and stories, I go by the brush and pen name of WODIN. I chose that name when I was in college because I was very introverted and shy as a child, and I wanted to be more courageous and brave. So I went to the university library and found a big book of names, this big, and looked all the way through the book looking for a name for my artwork that would signify bravery. The name begins with W, so I don't know how I got all the way through that book. I don't know if I jumped ahead. I don't know. But the dictionary of names said that Woden was a Viking word meaning fearless warrior. Since then, I've learned that Woden was, I think, the top Viking god, but I read in the book that it was a fearless warrior. And so I like the sound of it too. I like the letters in it. I like the way it looks on my signature on my artwork. I like the way it sounds. So it may have worked too well because I'm pretty outspoken about my spiritual beliefs and the corruption that goes on in government these days. So it seemed to have worked. And I developed a style of painting my spiritual master, Avatar Meher Baba, that was actually very controversial at first because some of my images in the beginning were cartoon-like, and many of his older disciples and followers felt that they weren't spiritual and religious looking enough. And it caused a bit of a stir in the beginning, but then people seemed to like them very much after that. Anyway, tonight I thought I would tell a story of something that happened to me the very first time I visited Meher Spiritual Center in the spring on my birthday of 1975. I was 22 years old. I came with friends from Kentucky who wanted to visit the Meher Baba Center. I knew a little bit about him, but I wasn't a Baba follower. I didn't believe in him. I think I can tell you one of the first times I heard of him, I had become friends who were working on an experimental ward at Eastern State Mental Hospital in Lexington, Kentucky, which was a big, old, scary, traditional, horrible mental hospital, huge, with wings and wings and stories, and matrons walking around with big rings of keys locking people up and people screaming. It was really a horrible, scary place. But one of my friends was the head psychiatrist on an experimental ward, and my other friend was a social worker on the experimental ward. And they were treating the patients differently. They were feeding them an all raw food, vegetarian diet to help their mental health. They had a greenhouse where they went to work every day, and they would go out on camping trips. So it was a very experimental ward. It wasn't scary like the others. But every Friday night, they would have a party for Meher Baba. And there was a really big poster-sized picture of Meher Baba up on the wall, up high. and they would play Baba songs on the record player. And some of the mental patients had buttons on their lapel with Mayor Baba's picture. And the way these mentally ill people danced was that they just walked around in a huge circle in this cafeteria-like room. They just walked around in a circle. That was all they did. It looked like they were only half alive, like zombies. They were just walking in this circle. And the Baba music playing, and my friends were telling me that Meher Baba was God. And I thought Meher Baba was one of the mental patients in the hospital. I thought he was one of the crazies somewhere on one of the wards. And I thought this was all a joke. I didn't think it was serious. Later, when I came to believe in Meher Baba and accept him as the avatar, the reincarnation of Jesus, Buddha, Muhammad, Krishna, I started to think, oh, I'm the crazy one. He was totally together. He's God. I'm the one who was pretty mentally ill as a teenager. I was very introverted, very much in my mind, not living in my heart at that time. It was a difficult time as a teenager. So that's one of the first places I heard of Baba. So these group of people wanted to visit the Meher Baba Center. I just wanted to go to the ocean for the first time. Growing up in Kentucky, and I was 22 years old, I had never been out of the state. I had never been to the beach. So there was 5 of us in a Volkswagen Beetle driving through the mountains all night long. And we got to the beach early in the morning and went and took a nap on the beach. And then before we went to the Meher Baba Center, there was one person in the car who had an elderly lady friend in Myrtle Beach, and she wanted to buy some flowers for her. And before we went grocery shopping, before we went to the Meher Baba Center to check in for our stay, we went to this flower shop. And there was 2 old ladies there that we bought roses from. And years later, I moved to Myrtle Beach, and I opened a sign business. And a few months after I opened my business, the landlord wanted me to move out of the building so that he could do something else with it. And another building came open the very same day, and it was just perfect for me. And it was that flower shop. That was the first building I stepped foot in Myrtle Beach. And the old lady had retired and lived in the house next door. And she was the one who had sold us the roses. And I became best friends with her. She was housebound with one leg. So I would visit her often and do things for her. And for many years, I didn't tell her that I was connected to the Meher Baba Center because I didn't know what she would think. I didn't want to cause trouble with my landlord. But after many, many years, she said, oh, I finally figured it out. You're connected to that Meher Baba Center. And she said, well, I'm the one who used to bake all the Meher Baba birthday cakes. And I kept them in the cooler. The flour refrigerator is where she kept the Meher Baba cakes. And she would cook the big dinners, Thanksgiving and Christmas meals for the people who, Elizabeth Patterson, the lady who had begun Meher Center. So then we get to the Meher Baba Center. And one thing that happened to me there was that I was a glutton for the beach. I had never seen it before. I loved it. I went every day. And I got sunburned really bad. And then I ended up getting, I guess you would call it sunstroke. I had to lay in bed for 3 days with a high fever and chills because I had so much sun poisoning. And while I was in that state, I would call it a sweet delirium. I was hallucinating, and I was feeling a lot of love for Meher Baba. and I made a vow to him. I had a wart in the quick of this finger, and I had tried to get rid of it for years, and medication wouldn't get rid of it. And every time I put my hand in my jeans pocket, it would split open and bleed and hurt very bad. And you know how a hangnail can really hurt, even though it's a tiny thing. It was right there on the edge of the nail, like a hangnail, but it was a wart. And so in my delirious state, and being very heartfelt and simple-minded in that state, I made a vow to Meher Baba. I said, Meher Baba, if you are who I think you are, if you are the reincarnation of Jesus, take this wart away to prove it to me. And then if I ever, in years to come, forget how much I love you and how much you mean to me, I want you to cover my body with millions of warts all over my whole body that will never, ever go away no matter what. So that's the deal. And then I forgot about that. And a few days later, I was back enjoying the beach again. And I was out in the ocean with really, really high waves. And a voice in my mind said, Steve, look at your finger. And I looked at my finger and the wart was gone. I'd had it for years, and all of a sudden it was gone. And I felt that he made it go away. A few weeks later, when I returned to Lexington, I went to a Meher Baba meeting at the home of a friend, and she had a plaster cast of Baba's hand dipped in bronze that was sitting on her coffee table. And I happened to look down at his hand, and the exact spot where I had a wart, he actually had a groove of missing tissue in his skin. So where I had too much, he had too little. So that was just one little tiny story of my coming to Meher Baba. But I think the main story I wanted to tell tonight was there was a lady there who I found very intriguing, and she told me that she could help me do past life regressions and take a peek at who I had been in previous incarnations. And I'm not really sure, but I think there was a rule at the Meher Baba Center that there was to be no divination on the center, which would be like some people, I guess it's like when people use a pendulum to make a decision or to ask spirit guides for guidance. I guess that's what it means. I'm really not sure. But there was some little funny little cloud over this whole issue that possibly this was something I shouldn't be doing at the center. But the lady who was going to do it, I think she was the one who said, we can do it at the beach. We'll go to the beach and we won't be on center property. We'll be on public property and we can do it there. After we did it, and we had the past life regressions and we came back onto the center proper, suddenly there was a phone call from Elizabeth Patterson, the lady who had established the Meher Center. And this woman was summoned to her office to speak with her. And I've heard stories that Elizabeth often was psychic about things happening on the center. She would sometimes call in if she knew that people were gossiping or saying things they shouldn't be saying. I don't know. And I really don't know if that's why the lady was called in by Elizabeth. I really don't. But anyway, I have a really good feeling about the experience. And it did happen on public property at the Meher Baba Center Beach. So the lady was going to take me on 3 past life regressions. And I laid out on the beach blanket, and she got me in a relaxed state. Some people call it hypnosis, but I don't really know what that word means, because and since then I've had many past life regressions in therapy sessions to try to find the source of issues that I might be dealing with. And when I get hypnotized, what they call hypnotized, I'm totally conscious. I'm not gonna get up and, like people on stage who are hypnotizing, quack like a duck and bark like a dog or something. I don't understand what that is. To me, what happens is I'm very, very relaxed, but I do get very much in touch with inner voices and information that there's no way that I could have known these things, that I could have come up with these answers that come from supposedly my guardian angel or me in a past life, or a part of me. Anyway, so here we are at the beach, and she is helping me relax to get to this state where I can reach into my subconscious. And the first memory that I had was a sad one. I was a Christian monk, and I was wearing robes like St. Francis. I was wearing a very uncomfortable brown wool robe, like St. Francis is seen wearing. And it was very hot. It was in the summer in the desert. And it seemed to me like it was somewhere, it felt like in what is now Israel. And I was in a desert region, and I was living all alone, like a hermit. I had been born in Italy, and I had left my family to go be a monk and look for Jesus. And so I'm walking around this desert for years and years, and I'm calling out the name of Jesus. And I didn't want to live. I was very, very, very depressed and lonely and sad. And I can't remember, since that was so many years ago, I can't remember if I was saying Jesus' name constantly or if I was constantly saying I want to die. I don't know, maybe both. I really don't remember, but they were both on my mind. And I had a bad feeling, not only because that memory was so sad, but I had not appreciated the family that I had in Italy. And I had left the comfort of parents and brothers and sisters and cousins, and had left all of that to go off and live alone in the desert. And that's sort of a theme that runs through this incarnation. I feel that I was born in this incarnation in a really wonderful family, oldest of 7. And I really had a wonderful, happy childhood. But there was a part of me that felt different from other people. And sometimes I would get into an isolated headspace. But I wasn't alone. I was with a house full of family. When I went away to the University of Kentucky, my first few years of living alone were extremely lonely. I would come home to my little apartment. I wasn't able to get into a dorm room with friends, so I ended up in a little tiny one-room bedroom apartment. And I would be so lonely, I would wish that when I opened the door to my bedroom, that one of my family members would have paid a surprise visit and were hiding behind the door. And I wished that happened so many times. It was really, really hard for me to learn to live on my own and be lonely. So that might be all I can say about that memory. Then I had another memory where I was Vietnamese, and I was a monk. And this time I'm a Buddhist monk. And again, I leave my family to go off and meditate on Buddha. And I'm out. I guess it would be the South China Sea. It was the ocean around Vietnam. I'm floating out in the ocean, all alone, meditating on Buddha, and as far away from civilization as I can get. And I'm in the strangest boat. It's about 6 or 8 feet diameter, and it's circular. I had never seen a circular boat before. This was totally circular, like a bowl. And it was made out of bamboo frame, and then there were stretched, I think it was water buffalo hides were stretched over this bamboo. And I'm out there bobbing up and down in the waves, all alone, meditating again under the hot sun. And I don't remember the same extreme loneliness that I was as a Christian monk, but I think I was still lonely and bored. And again, I had left my family. So I have a bad feeling that I had been born with a family. God gave me a family and I didn't appreciate it. And I left it to go meditate on God. Okay, so then the third past life memory. And this one was a happy one. And it was one of my happiest incarnation memories. This time, it seems to me, it felt like it was in the 1500s. And I was in what is now Oregon or Washington State. I hear Oregon loud in my brain. So I guess it was Oregon or Washington State. And I am a Native American, and I'm the shaman of the tribe, which I can very much identify with. In this incarnation, I have psychic tendencies. I'm extremely interested in healing and natural healing. I'm constantly trying to help heal family and friends and heal myself. I'm open to all kinds of information. I'm very much intrigued by shadow government stories and trying to understand all that corruption. Very intrigued with that. I've studied with psychic healers. So I very much can identify with being the shaman. And my name was very similar to WODIN. My name in that lifetime was Woori, W-O-O-R-I, would be how it's pronounced. And this was a small tribe, probably not more than 100 or 200 people, woodland tribe. And I have a best female friend, and she's a Virgo type personality, and she weaves baskets. And she's my best friend. And in this incarnation, I've had several women best friends who are Virgos. And the one who told me about Mayor Baba actually was making her living weaving baskets when I met her in Kentucky. And she even took on a art name that included basket weaver in her name. So word had gone out, I don't know how, but word had spread all the way up or along the West Coast that there was going to be a very high spiritual figure to visit the coast of California. And all of us shaman were invited. I don't know how we got the invitation, but hundreds or thousands of us all converged on the coast of California. And I've never been to, I've been to Los Angeles, but I've never been north of there. I've never been to the San Francisco area, although I'm very much drawn to Carmel and Pebble Beach and Monterey Bay area. I've done many paintings of the Cannery Row in Monterey Bay, but I haven't been there yet. But I feel like I was somewhere in that area, and we met with this spiritual master, and he was very, very high. I would say he was a perfect master. I don't know if it was Meher Baba, but I suspect that it was. So I don't know how he was there. We are told that the avatar has many veiled and minor incarnations. Sometimes even he doesn't know he's the avatar. Which brings up another interesting story. Maybe I'll tell it later tonight about minor incarnations of the avatar. So I really do feel it was the avatar. If it was not, then I think it would be a perfect master. So there we were, and this was a wonderful time, spending several days with him and receiving his love and being taught. And it seemed like he was bringing real New Age type information, very liberating information, very sunshiny, optimistic future information for humanity. I forgot one little thing that I should back up and say, that I was gay in that lifetime, just as I am now. And I had a very sweet lover who was much younger than me, just as my lover is now. And his body was covered with pockmarks, and he died from that. And we had heard about white men on our continent, but we had not yet seen one. But this disease had spread around the continent. I don't know if it came from the east or from Spanish explorers who came along the California coast, but this pox had spread and was killing. I've heard documentaries saying that it killed as many as 95% of the Native Americans in North America. All these TV shows and stories you hear about white men killing off the red men, that story, I think, needs to be modified a little bit to say, wait a minute, God used the pox to kill off 95% of the red men and weaken their civilization before white men arrived. And I don't particularly like it when people want to blame me as a white person for what happened to the Native Americans, because I remember several incarnations in which I was a Native American. And I love America. I love the animals and the plants and the continent, the geography. I really love North America. And I loved being a Native American. When I was a little kid, my favorite thing was to make clothes like Native American clothing. My father had been in the Navy and had a ivory colored wool blanket we called the Navy blanket. The Army blanket was Army green, the Navy blanket was ivory colored. And mischievously, I cut up his Navy blanket because it looked like buckskin to me, and I made a breech clout and leggings and everything that Native Americans would wear. And I loved going down to the creek behind our house and running around in Native American clothing. So, and oftentimes I'll be walking around through the course of my day wearing jeans and Converse tennis shoes. And in my mind, I feel so much like a Native American. I feel like I'm wearing buckskin leggings and moccasins. I really feel like blue jeans and Converse sneakers are the modern form of leggings and moccasins. Okay, so back to the big Sahavas, the big get-together with this master. And it was very, very exciting and liberating, all this information we were getting from him. So I'll go back to my tribe in Oregon. And I remember I was a member of the Turtle Clan. I've been told that Native Americans would belong to a tribe, but then they would also belong to a clan that was a separate organization, so that this tribe would be less likely to war on that tribe because there were members of that tribe and your tribe that were of the same clan. I don't know if that's true. I've read that. But I was a member of the Turtle Clan. I think I had a turtle tattooed or painted on my body somewhere. And so I go back and I start sharing this information that I've learned from the Perfect Master. And I'm really excited telling everybody this new age information about a new way to live. And there were several chiefs in our tribe. I can remember 3 main ones with the feather headdress and everything. The 3 big chiefs, maybe some smaller ones. But the chiefs were very conservative, and they didn't like this new information I was sharing with the tribe. And I can understand their point of view very, very well. These people are like camping out in the wild. They're living off of nature. They don't have a federal government. They don't have the military. They don't have food stamps. They have to survive. And the way they survive is by following the ways they've been taught by their forefathers and foremothers and ancestors. So these chiefs clung very tightly to tradition. And I was breaking that up with my information and new information on how people can live. And you might say, in modern day terms, I was kind of like the radical Democrat liberal of the tribe, and the chiefs were the conservative Republicans. But in this incarnation, I'm very, very connected to the Republican conservative point of view, and very much love President Trump. And I know so many crazy people that are Democrats, and to me, they're just crazy, crazy, crazy. So, I mean, some of them are sweet and think they're doing the right thing, but man, they don't have much common sense. So there I was, getting in trouble with the chiefs, and they decided that I could not be allowed to live in the tribe, and they couldn't allow this information to come out. So what they did was they went out into a big open field and put me in the middle of this field, and about 100 or 200 of them, men, women, children, everybody, they were in a big circle, and they all had a tomahawk, and at a certain signal, they all threw their tomahawks at me to kill me. And it was not a bad feeling. I didn't feel anger or hatred or anything. towards these people. I understood them, and I understood why they felt they needed to do that. There was no animosity in my heart at all. And I still would say that was one of my best incarnations. I was really living my fullest. I was fully expressed. My spirit was expressed in that light. But I might say I may learn a lesson. There could be a lesson learned about what is it in the Bible? Not throwing pearls before swine, or not giving information to people when they're not ready to receive it. Now, the way that I've seen that reflected in this incarnation is through the gay community and through the Meher Baba community. I saw this pattern repeat itself in my life. Growing up gay in Kentucky, in the middle of America, in the middle of the century, I had to keep it a secret. I would have been terribly ridiculed. It would have been horrible. No way to live. So it was totally a secret until I was in college and gay liberation started to come about. But when I started leaning conservative, it was when Obama was president. I want to wash my mouth out with soap for even saying that name. To see how arrogant he was and how much he lied, every word out of his mouth was a lie, was really disgusting to me. I never paid attention to politics until that. And then I was so disgusted by him. And then when Trump came along, and he was the first politician that I had known, other than maybe President Kennedy, who actually did what he said he was going to do and actually seemed to love and care about American people and wasn't in office to aggrandize himself. So I would have gay friends that said they weren't going to vote for Trump because he was Republican, and they felt that only by being a Democrat, voting for Democrats, would they be allowed to have gay rights. And I would say to these people, you have your gay rights. You can be married. Everybody in America can be openly gay. There's no problem with it at all. It's nothing like it was when I was growing up as a teenager. We have our rights. What are you talking about? Let's have a president that's going to save the economy, that's going to save our country and save our civil rights. And I want to say that the amount of hate that I got from gay people who thought that I should hate Trump, the amount of hatred I got from them was much greater than any hatred that I got from the heterosexual people when I was growing up as a gay boy. In fact, I have no animosity toward them at all. Everybody did the best we knew how at that time. I have absolutely not even 1 ounce of animosity towards anybody that I knew in my family or friends or the wider community. Nothing at all, because I know everybody was doing the best we knew how to get through life at that time. But the amount of hatred that the gay community had towards me to become a conservative was extreme, intense. And the same thing in the Meher Baba community. When I started posting my love and appreciation for President Trump on social media, I had several hundred followers, friends in the Meher Baba community because of my artwork, who said the most hateful things to me and told me things like, I have several of your prints on my wall. I'm going to throw them all in the trash bin. I have one of your paintings. I'm going to burn it. One fellow had a publishing contract with me, and he found out right before we signed the contract. He said, "I found out that you love Meher Baba. What happened to you? How did you lose your mind?" Not Meher Baba, Trump. He said, "How did you lose your mind? Don't ever speak to me again. Our book contract is over." I had to block a lot of these people on social media because of the unbelievable amount of hatred they were throwing at me for loving Trump. And the point I want to get at is that every time I received these hateful words from these people, in my mind, I saw Native Americans on the warpath with their arm raised with a tomahawk, chasing me, ready to kill me. They wanted to just hack me to death with their axe, only they wanted to do it verbally and socially, but it felt like coming after me with an axe, tomahawk. I was very much amazed that there was such confused thinking in that community and how much hatred they had towards me. And then since that time, I have met other people in that community who secretly have confided in me that they love Trump and voted for him, but they've begged me not to let anyone know who they are because they don't want to be ostracized socially. So what I have experienced by having so much love for President Trump is a repeat of what I went through in that incarnation as a Native American shaman who was killed for his open-minded thinking that the tribe wasn't ready for. Okay. Let's see. That's probably all about... Oh, wait a minute. One other interesting thing. When I was 40, I became romantically involved with a young man who was freshly here from Vietnam. And he could barely speak English. And we became lovers and ended up living together for several years. And one year, it was his father's birthday. And his father really missed Vietnam. They had been from South Vietnam. His father's mother was very wealthy and owned a fishing fleet on the coast of South Vietnam. And when the communists came in, they took all the mansions that the rich people lived in and all their businesses and gave them to people who lived on the street who didn't know how to run a business, didn't know how to upkeep an estate, had never been born into that. It wasn't part of their family history or knowledge or education. And then the wealthy people and business owners were put out on the street. And this boy's father had been a Jeep mechanic for the American Army. So he and his whole family were arrested and put in a concentration camp in the mountains and made to build roads with their bare hands. And I heard stories of them being forced to, they didn't have any food to eat, so they would collect wild yucca plants to cook and eat those. They were finally able to come to America to get out of that concentration camp. And the photograph of their family, their limbs were so skinny when they first came to America that their knees and elbows looked like grapefruits connected with little twigs between the joints, is how emaciated they all were. And I hate communist thinking. It's so shallow and so full of hatred. But his father missed Vietnam and where he had grown up. And so it was his birthday one year. And I had the idea, I was in a bookstore and saw a big, beautiful coffee table book of pictures of Vietnam. It was a big hardbound book full of beautiful color photos of Vietnam. And I wanted to glance through it and enjoy it myself a little bit before I wrapped it and gave it to him. And I was shocked to see photographs of round boats on the ocean made from bamboo twigs and ox hide. I had never seen that before in my life. I had never heard of it. I had seen it on a television documentary, did not know such a thing existed. I'd never heard of round boats. Every boat I ever knew had a point on the front to plow through the water. So I feel that that was validation that my past life memory was accurate. Also, there's the story that when Meher Baba first went to California, I think it was on his first trip there. I'm not real familiar with how many trips he took, but there was some land donated to him called Meher Mount on the coast of California, on the hills overlooking the ocean. And I was told the story that when he got out of the car and his foot first stepped on the land, one thing only vaguely, I don't know if this is true or not, but I think I heard that lightning struck at that very minute. But the other thing that I'm more confident is true is he said, "I've been here before." And that makes me also believe that that could be the time when I met him there. And there is a murshid in this Sufi reoriented group who told us, this is a spiritual group created by Meher Baba, and the murshids are illumined masters. Meher Baba told us that, and my understanding is that illumined masters are 6th or 7th plane spiritual masters, I think. So this Murshid told us that they have a Sufi center in Walnut Creek, California, and it's near a place called Mount Diablo. And we were told that the ground and the area around that area had been prepared, especially prepared for a New Age spiritual birth there, which may be one of the reasons that their center is near there. And it also is a possibility that that was the time I met the perfect master there. And then this Murshid also told us that there was a spiritual master, I think it was a minor incarnation of the Avatar in the Americas, in Mexico and the Southwest. Could that have been the figure known as Quetzalcoatl. I don't know. It was one of these figures that you've probably heard their name. And that reminds me, I said I would tell about the minor incarnations before this is over. So, let's see. Also about San Francisco, I caught the tail end of the hippie movement when I was a little bit younger than most hippies, but I saw it in Life and Look magazine when I was in high school, on the coffee table magazines, and a little bit on the news. And then when I went to college, I experienced some of that. And it makes me sad that some people have a bad feeling about it and focus on some of the laziness and irresponsibility of some people connected to that movement. But 99%, I felt it was a very, very beautiful time. Meher Baba dropped his body in January 31st, 1969. And that was right in the middle of the hippie movement. The Woodstock Festival was a few weeks later in the summer of 1969. And I felt at that time, I didn't even know about avatars. I only knew about Jesus, and I didn't know about reincarnation, but I felt it was like the time of Krishna when he was dancing on earth with his gopis, the sheep herding, goat herding, cow herding ladies that were his followers. And it was, my image of that time was like a Garden of Eden, a very happy Krishna. So I felt that the hippie generation was picking up on the feeling that the avatar had just left the earth. And when he left, his spirit spread over the earth like flowers falling from the air, like a pink cloud. And the new humanity was felt all over the earth, and the hippies picked up on that and had a strong feeling of brotherly love and love for nature and getting back to organic living and more in harmony with the earth and with each other. I thought that was a very, very, very beautiful experience. And I feel when Meher Baba talks about the new humanity to come in the next few hundred years, that that's what it might be like. And I feel that the hippies were just feeling it so strongly, they couldn't help but vibrate to it. The avatar's vibration was so strong that everybody was vibrating to it and had no control over it. It was expressing through them. And then it all sadly faded away, and the hippies turned into yuppies, and everything got to be very, very materialistic, extremely materialistic, more than ever before in America. And my feeling about that is that we have to go back to sleep for some time, and it's going to gradually unfold. But at that time, we got a really strong hit of it. And in my mind, that's very connected with San Francisco, which was considered to be the home of hippies. And when I used to hear Scott McKenzie sing the song, if you're coming to San Francisco, be sure to wear a flower in your hair. I used to cry when I heard that song. I felt so much love for San Francisco, for that area, for that movement. And again, that seems to be connected with my past life memory of meeting a spiritual master on the coast of California. One other thing that pops in my mind just now connected to that is that Meher Baba visited Los Angeles and spoke to the movie star community film industry community in the 1930s at the home of Douglas Fairbanks and Mary Pickford, called Pickfair, and it was during the Depression in the 1930s, and he gave a talk on how movies are a very powerful form of artwork to influence people and could be used for very great good and be very spiritually helpful to people. And I've heard that Mayor Baba said that the veil of illusion is thinner in Southern California than any other place on the planet other than India. And I have thought maybe that is why movies are so easily made there, because movies are part of illusion and playing with the game of illusion. And I've always had this feeling about California. You know, when the Europeans first came to America, there was this feeling of going west and El Dorado and the sunsets over the Pacific Ocean and these stories of gold. It just seemed like an enchanted land. And I still feel that way about California. I hate what politicians have done to that state. It's horrible. But I love California, and I love that whole feeling of El Dorado. It's like when you get there, and I've been to Los Angeles a few times, when the sun is setting, I feel like there's gold flakes in the air. Maybe it's the way the sunset bounces off the Pacific Ocean, but the buildings and everything turns a beautiful gold. And it seems like there's just gold flickering in the dust. It's like a longing for this ultimate dream, this ultimate destination, finally reaching that golden sunlit place. I have a strong feeling about that. And I was conceived in California, in Southern California. My father was in the Navy in San Diego, and my mother was living with him there. So I was carried around in my mom's belly there. And I feel very strongly that I have memories of being with my parents before I was born. I have a memory of my soul coming into the earth from the sky, across the Pacific Ocean, and into San Diego, and being ready to be born. Although I wasn't born till my mom was in Kentucky a few weeks or months later. So I guess that's all I can remember to say about those past life memories. But I gave a hint that I would talk about minor incarnations of the Avatar. And I know, too, that most of the people in the Mayor Baba community don't know. So this would be really big news for them. Everybody in the Baba community knows that Mayor Baba said he was Shivaji in the early 1600s in India. He was born in Pune, India in that lifetime, and he became a leader to help the Hindus in that area fight off oppression from the Mughal Empire that was coming down from northern India. And I love Shivaji very much. And I have a lot of stories to tell about my relationship with Shivaji in another time. Because I've already said I'm going to talk about these minor incarnations. So, Mayor Baba said that he was Shivaji. And everybody in that part of India loves him. There's statues of him around. I think they call it the Maratha Empire. So that would be in the state of Maharashtra, around Pune. Veiled minor incarnations. So that was one. So then one of the Sufi Murshids told us that Meher Baba had been Akhenaten, the Egyptian pharaoh, who's very, very strange and different from all the other pharaohs. He moved the capital of Egypt out into a place in the desert where no one lived, where there was no civilization at all. And he took everybody with him to build a new capital of Egypt. And it was to get away from the corruption of the priests in the temples and to help establish the belief in one God instead of multiple gods. And Nefertiti was his wife, and his son was famous because they found his body in the tomb and it toured America. I'm forgetting his name at the moment, but Akhenaten was always depicted in sculpture and in paintings with a very non-muscular, normal human body. And up until then, pharaohs were always depicted with very V-shaped torsos with big shoulders and skinny little waists, and very beautiful but unrealistic, stylized bodies. And I've heard that Akhenaten helped the artists learn a new way of illustrating that was less formal, a new way to do artwork on murals and things. And then the other veiled incarnation is very interesting, and no one seems to know about this. And I only have one source, but it's someone I trust. And it makes an interesting story. Maybe if more people know about this, we can put notes together and decide if it's true or not. I believe it. I do believe it, but I can't prove it. That Meher Baba, the avatar, in a minor incarnation, was Prince Albert, married to Queen Victoria. And through Victoria, he ruled over the whole British Empire with his advice and guidance to her. Now, this part of the story I know is a fact and true, and everyone knows this, but putting the two parts together is new. So, Prince Albert and Queen Victoria had a personal chef from India. And I think he was Muslim because his tomb shrine is painted green. So I think he was Muslim. But when he retired as a chef for Prince Albert and Queen Victoria, he went back to India to his home, and which I think was near Ahmednagar, which is where Meher Baba's offices were. And when it came time for him to be buried, he told him he became a spiritual teacher, and he became recognized as a saint in his older days. I don't know if he was seen as a saint when he was a chef in London, but in his older days he was accepted and seen as a saint. And he told his followers where he wanted to be buried, and they said, this is out in the middle of the forest, miles from town, why do you want to be buried here? No one will ever come to visit your tomb. This doesn't make any sense. And he said, after I pass, a very, very great saint will come here and live here and be buried here. And then I'll be in the middle of all the activity. Well, that place where he is buried is a very small shrine with a little wooden gazebo type roof built around it, over it, all painted green. And it is in Lower Mehrabad. And Mehrabad is where Meher Baba established his ashram. And Upper Mehrabad on the hill is where Meher Baba's tomb is, just less than an eighth mile away from that saint. So all Baba lovers who've been to India know that story. That this was the retired chef of Prince Albert and Queen Elizabeth, and he knew that Meher Baba was coming, and he wanted to be buried near where Meher Baba would have his ashram. So what makes the story really, really interesting, you've probably figured it out by now, is that if Meher Baba was Prince Albert in a minor incarnation, then that Muslim saint was his chef in London, and then retired and waited for Meher Baba to reincarnate as the avatar and have his ashram right there on the very exact property of his tomb. Now, what's my source for this story? One friend of mine, a very, very close friend, who has lots of interesting information, she said that she was having tea with Mara in Marizan. Mara was Meher Baba's closest female disciple. And after Meher Baba passed, all of Meher Baba's disciples, which he called Mandali, would meet with Westerners who came to visit at Marizan, where Meher Baba's house was and where the Mandali lived. And we would go there and visit with them. They were like aunts and uncles for us. And they would tell us stories of being with Baba, and we would feel their energy, their love, their presence before they all passed away. And every afternoon, when pilgrims were there visiting, at a certain hour, Mara would have afternoon tea, and only women were allowed into the dining room for tea. And she would have certain women invited. And then there would be this small group of women around the table, and Mara would tell stories and make conversation. So my friend says that she was at tea with Mara one day, and Mara told the people at the table that Meher Baba had told her that he had been Prince Albert. So that's where the story comes from. I would really love to know if anyone else has heard that story from Mara or anyone else to confirm it. I think it's a really interesting story. And I've always loved Prince Albert. I've had a really good feeling about him always. Such an interesting and good person. And from the movies that I've seen, he helped Queen Victoria negotiate the dangers of all the powerful people around her in the palace and the palace intrigues. And she was just a little girl when she first became queen, and a young lady, and he helped her negotiate the politics of that situation. So I'm suspecting, and millions of British people all over the world don't know this, But I'm suspecting that he ruled the world through the British Empire. The sun never set on the British Empire during her time. And everyone thinks that she was the ruler, but it's my suspicion he was guiding her on everything. Interesting story. Well, I can think of many more stories to tell right now, but I think we have enough for this video. The main thing that I wanted to talk about was the past life regressions. I've had many more since then, but I don't think we need to go into any of them right now. Okay, so thank you for listening to me. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm just beginning to make these videos, and I have written down a list of stories to tell, and there's several hundred. So I've got a lot of work to do, a lot of stories to tell. So I hope you'll come back and visit this web page. I think it'll be a YouTube page. So hoping that you'll have a place to come and find lots more delicious, interesting stories. And maybe I can develop my skills as a storyteller. All right, thank you very much. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Hello, my name is Steve Jameson. The brush and pen name of WODIN I use for my paintings and stories of my spiritual master, Meher Baba. I hope you enjoyed the video presentation. I plan to create many, many more, so come back from time to time to hear more true life stories of Meher Baba. I also plan to interview others who have had personal Baba experiences and people who follow other spiritual masters such as Jesus, Muhammad, and Buddha. I would like to take this time to give you more information on my work. I have a website entitled daddygodartstudio.com. On this website, you can find art prints of my Meher Baba paintings in a very wide range of sizes and prices. There are greeting cards available, and my short story books and art books can be purchased there. I also want to tell you about the planned Daddy God Art Museum. I'm very excited about this project. My main and biggest project for the rest of my life is to build this Daddy God Art Museum to house all my paintings of Meher Baba after I pass on. Here I want to show you some architectural renderings of the planned museum. You can see the main entrance hall that will greet visitors when they first arrive. Here is the art studio where I can paint, edit videos, work on book publishing, and my staff of animators can create. Here's the main common area, a living room-like area, the upper mezzanine with all the paintings of Meher Baba on the walls, the veranda where people can enjoy the outdoors, kitchen, and dining area. The architectural plan is for a traditional South Carolina low-country style of a large home that will house the paintings and can be used for public gatherings and possibly even overnight stays. You see, I was an architect major in college. I love architecture, so I plan to enjoy many years designing and building this museum. My vision for the Daddy God Art Museum is for future visitors and pilgrims to this area of the South Carolina coast in the next few hundred years to have a place to stop for a couple of hours to refresh and be inspired by paintings of Meher Baba. We now have 4 places in this area that attract those interested in learning more about Meher Baba. Foremost, we have the Meher Spiritual Center, founded for Meher Baba, where people can stay on retreat and attend programs of movies and speakers on Meher Baba. This center was dedicated and built for Meher Baba, who visited it 3 times in the 1950s. Right across the street from the center is a bookstore selling all books regarding Meher Baba. About 45 minutes south of the center, there's the world-famous Brook Green Sculpture and Horticulture Gardens, where people can walk in the path of Meher Baba, who visited there one day himself. There is Yaupon Dunes. This is the house where Meher Baba stayed for some time while he was recuperating from a car accident. He had a painful car accident in America that he said was his modern-day crucifixion for this incarnation. Finally, the ultimate destination, or the alternate destination, would be the dream of where the Daddy God Art Museum would be situated south of Meher Center on the road to Charleston. It would be situated with the ocean front on one side and backed by the beautiful local salt marshes on the other. Anyone wanting to visit historic Charleston for the day can stop at the museum for a couple of hours on the drive down. Here I want to show you a few recent paintings that I have created for the museum. I think I have about 30 done so far, but I plan many dozens more. These are very elaborate and time-consuming paintings done with oil on canvas in a very large format size of 5 foot by 7 foot. So you can see these are too big for private homes. These paintings are currently being created and housed at my studio, which is just 15 minutes north of Meher Center in North Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. I would like to extend an open invitation to anyone visiting the area to stop by my studio for a short visit, for a cup of chai, and to see the current artwork. Visiting hours are from noon to 6 p.m., and I'm here 7 days a week. Also, here you can see a few of my true life short story books about Meher Baba. These books have been printed and published and are available on Amazon. I'm very excited to tell you about another huge project I'm working on in my studio. I'm very excited about this one, and I think you will be too. With the help of a few animators, I am working on full feature film-length Walt Disney style animated movies of Meher Baba done in my WODIN style of depicting his image. Currently, we are creating a 5-minute presentation sample of what the full-length movie might look like. We plan to use this mini presentation to show our proposed film to the public when we are asking for financial donations to pay the animators. Animation is a very labor-intensive and time-consuming endeavor, and the animation staff must be paid in order to live and be able to afford to work on this project. Finally, I would like to invite anyone who feels inclined to support the vision of the Daddy God Art Museum, as well as the animated movies, to donate financially. It will take a few $1,000,000 in my estimation to build this museum as I envision it, and to finance its operation and maintenance for the next few hundred years. I would also like to suggest that people leave donations for the museum in their will. Information on how you can donate is provided in the section below this video. You can send donations now to my PayPal account, which is wodinart@aol.com. That's WODINART@AOL.com. From time to time, I might set up GoFundMe-style accounts where you can donate, and eventually I will also create a tax-exempt foundation where you can make larger donations that will be tax-free. Thank you so much for watching this video. I apologize for the sound of all the motorcycles out here. It's Bike Week in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, which happens every May and September, I think, and it gets very loud here then. And also my parrot over here keeps beeping in once in a while. So I apologize for the noise. I hope you'll return in the future to see more videos that I intend to create telling more true life, real adventures with Meher Baba that the world has yet to hear. So, bye-bye for now. See you later.